Welcome back to Mr. Honest EV, and the last in my series of reviews on the DS3 Crossback E-tense. If you've been following the rest of the series, you'll know that I've covered a few other topics. So this being the last video, I'm going to go into my likes and dislikes of the car, and also my opinion on whether I feel it's worth buying or not. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button and smash the notification bell. Then you'll be made aware of when my next videos are uploaded. Tomorrow I take delivery of a Hyundai Kona 64 kWh electric car, and I will be starting a new series of reviews on that. So without further ado, let's get into my likes and dislikes on the DS3 Crossback. I think I'll start with the likes, because there isn't many. Firstly, the main thing I like about the DS3 is the style and the look of the car. It's got a great road presence. It's quirky. It's got a very nice high driving position, and an aggressive stance, and some really nice angles. And I just think it's one of those cars that you just look at and think, oh, that's nice. It's got nice big 18-inch alloys, which help with the ride and the height as well. Also, the other thing I like about the DS3 is the interior. The quality of the build is very, very good. It doesn't feel plasticky, it doesn't feel cheap. It's definitely what I would call a premium brand. You know, we're not talking Tesla or that, but it's definitely a cut above things like the Ioniq and that. You know, it's got really nice quality leather. The dashboard and all the fittings are nice materials. The designs and that are really nice as well. Another thing I do like, and I think I mentioned it in the last video, is the adaptive headlights. It's really noticeable when you're out driving about, especially in the country lanes and that, where you know there's not a lot of street lighting, and you can really tell the difference with the angles of the lighting as it changes and everything, and the dip beam and everything comes on automatically. So really that's pretty much the likes on this car. Well, no, another thing I have to say is probably the heads-up display. It's not unique to the DS3, but it's nice, it works really well and functional. So let's move on to the dislikes. So where do I start? First of all, I think we have to start with obviously one of the biggest things when it comes to electric cars, and that's range. The range in these is very poor compared to its competitors, and even worse in the cold weather. I've had this car twice now, a DS3 Crossback, once in the winter and once this month. It's performed a bit better this month, but in the winter it was shocking. You know, I was lucky to get 100 miles out of it for my daily driving. So that's the big bugbear. Right, the infotainment system as well, that's another thing I don't particularly like. It's a bit clunky, it's not very intuitive. It's got the basics and that's it. You know, for a premium car like this, you would expect a little bit more from the infotainment system. There's too much delay on the touchscreen. The button layout as well isn't particularly easy to use, especially when you're driving. And also the bugbear, which I've raised on a few of my videos, with having no physical dials for the air conditioning. So another issue I find with the DS3 Crossback, and it's something that's unnecessary, and that's the fact that it doesn't remember what you was driving the last time you was in the car. So every time you come into the car, you have to choose your driving mode, you know, it automatically just goes to normal every time. So if you want to be driving in eco, every time you get in the car you have to remember to press it into eco. You know, and even basic things like the wash, you know, the auto washer, you have to turn that on every time, rather than it automatically being set up for you every time you get in the car. And it's, yeah, it's just quite annoying, to be honest. And I think, you know, we're all looking for convenience and ease of use, and you know, quite often I've been driving, you know, for half an hour or so and then just remembered that I haven't put it into eco. So, you know, that's eating as well into your range. Another issue I think as well on a premium brand, and what they say is their top of range car, is the fact that it doesn't have adaptive cruise control. It's just got standard cruise control. That I find is a bit weird, because I've had cheaper cars that have had that, and I would have thought that this day and age that an adaptive cruise control is just a standard thing on an electric car. Also, another issue I find is, and this was very prevalent today actually, because I had my parents come down to visit me for the first time in a year. It's the first time they see the car, and they said, "Oh, that's a lovely looking car. That's really big, isn't it?" And then I took them out in it, and they were like, "Wow, this is really small inside, isn't it? It's like a reverse TARDIS. It looks really big outside, but the actual interior space isn't that great." And as you would have seen in the very first video in the series, there's just no legroom or that. And even worse is the boot space. For such a big car with a big presence, you would have expected more space. And to be honest, I think the Renault Zoe that I had was probably more roomy and felt roomier inside as well. Another bugbear is the boot release. Now, I don't know if you've probably seen this before, but the actual boot release is where the license plate is. So you've got to put your hand down where all the dirt and the muck is to open your boot, which is just absolutely bizarre. And you know, you end up with dirty fingers, and it's just not very friendly, especially in the winter when it's wet and dirty and muddy. It's a bit of a pain. So, as you've probably gathered from my rantings a little bit earlier, I'm not a massive fan of the DS3 Crossback. I'm sorry to say. I want to like it, but after driving the Renault Zoe and driving the Hyundai Ioniq, I just don't think it stacks up. It's what I would probably call all style over substance. So for as a daily driver, even though I don't do a lot of miles, you know, I'm averaging probably 600 miles a month, it still gives you that range anxiety when you're in the car. And I just don't think in this day and age, with the amount of electric cars out there, that you should have to have that anxiety. There's plenty of cars out there that do decent range on a charge. So I'm just hoping that when the Kona comes tomorrow, it's got a, you know, they say up to 300 miles range. Obviously we'll find out in my tests, but it's going to get me a hell of a lot more than this is, that's for sure. So bottom line, would I buy this car, or would I recommend buying this car to anyone out there? No, I think you should definitely look at some alternatives and try them. Obviously, if you're not 100% sure, then do what I do. Do a subscription. Go to On2. I'll put a video up above about car subscription. You can basically then try the car for a month and make that decision. You know, is it a car that you could live with? I think that's a very sensible way, rather than going out and spending 30 odd thousand pounds for a car and then finding it doesn't suit your needs. So, you know, in some ways I'm glad to see it go tomorrow, but in others, you know, I'll be a bit sad. You know, I really do like the interior and the style of the car. But I hope you enjoyed this series, and I hope it's helped you and it's been informative. Again, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell, and you'll be alerted of when I update this video, and then also my new series on the Kona. Any suggestions of cars that you'd like to see tested as well, put in the comments below. And I hope to see you soon. Stay safe, drive safe, and keep EV.